From the dawn of civilization, leaders have shaped the destiny of tribes, empires, and nations. Picture a warrior chieftain uniting a fractured people, or a visionary president steering a country through chaos. These figures aren't just rulers. They're symbols of strength, unity, and justice, embodying the hopes of millions. But with great power comes great danger. Leaders become targets, stalked by those consumed by resentment, rebellion, or a thirst for change. Assassination, the swiftest, most brutal act to plunge a nation into turmoil. Most attempts fail, fading into obscurity. Yet a handful have ignited legends, rewriting history and altering the fate of humanity. At Real World Channel, we're unraveling the stories of the most infamous assassinations, moments that shook empires, sparked wars, and changed the world forever. Buckle up for a gripping journey through time. Let's step back over 2,000 years to the heart of the Roman Empire, a sprawling dominion encircling the Mediterranean, renowned for its wealth, intellect, and unmatched power. At its pinnacle stood Julius Caesar, a colossus of history, a military genius, political mastermind, and architect of Rome's golden age. Born on July 12, 100 BCE, into the noble Julian clan, Caesar's cries as an infant echoed through a Rome teetering on the edge of chaos. By 16, after his father's sudden death, young Caesar shouldered his family's legacy. A year later, he married Cornelia, daughter of a powerful Roman statesman, thrusting him into the treacherous world of politics. But Rome was a viper's nest. A brutal power struggle saw dictator Sulla brand Caesar's father-in-law and uncle as enemies, forcing the young man to flee and join the army to escape a purge. Years later, Caesar returned to Rome a war hero, his charisma and cunning propelling him to the top. He forged alliances with titans like Pompey, a celebrated general, and Crassus, a fabulously wealthy magnate, forming the legendary First Triumvirate. By 40, Caesar wielded power few could dream of. But as the saying goes, a forest can't house two tigers. Tensions flared as Pompey's jealousy grew, and Crassus's death in Syria left only two titans vying for control. In 48 BCE, Caesar crushed Pompey, driving him to Egypt, where he was slain. Caesar, now allied with the enigmatic Cleopatra, returned to Rome as its unchallenged leader, his name synonymous with divine authority. Yet, absolute power breeds enemies. By 44 BCE, whispers of dissent grew among Rome's elite. Senators, envious of Caesar's dominance, saw him as a threat to the Republic's ideals. A chilling prophecy, etched on a bronze tablet in the tomb of Capys, Rome's mythical founder, foretold doom. A descendant of Iulus, Caesar's lineage, would be betrayed by those closest to him, followed by a devastating plague. At our channel, we've explored such ancient omens before, and while they captivate, we remain skeptical. Could this be myth or a kernel of truth? Days before his death, eerie signs mounted. Caesar's horses crossing the Rubicon refused to eat, their eyes streaming with tears. A seer warned of danger before March 15th, and a bird carrying a laurel branch was torn apart by a flock in Pompey's theater, an ominous symbol of a crowned leader's fall. On the eve of March 15th, 44 BCE, Caesar dreamt of soaring above the clouds, clasping Jupiter's hand, while his wife Calpurnia saw their home collapse and her husband stabbed in her arms. Doors flung open mysteriously in their chambers. Shaken but defiant, Caesar ignored the warnings. A note detailing the plot was slipped into his hand as he walked to the Senate, but he brushed it aside, mocking the seer Spurina. "The Ides of March have come, and I'm still here." Spurina's chilling reply? "The day isn't over yet." In a fatal misstep, Caesar entered the Senate alone, dismissing his guards. Over 60 conspirators, led by Brutus and Cassius, surrounded him under the guise of presenting a petition. As Caesar read, a senator tugged his toga, and another struck. Caesar fought back, grappling with Cassius, but the blades came too fast, 27 stabs, one for each year of his meteoric rise. His final words, as legend holds, were to Brutus, his protege, "You too, my son?" The assassination of Caesar didn't save the Republic, it destroyed it. Outraged citizens, led by Mark Antony, turned on the conspirators, sparking chaos that birthed the Roman Empire under Caesar's heir, Octavian. A comet blazed for 7 days during Octavian's games honoring Caesar, seen as his soul ascending to the gods. The Senate chamber was sealed, and March 15 was forever cursed as the day of parricide. Fast forward to 18th century America, a land stained by the horrors of slavery. Men, women, and children were traded like livestock, toiling under brutal whips in sprawling plantations. Families were torn apart, their dignity crushed. Into this dark era emerged Abraham Lincoln, born in 1809 in a humble Kentucky cabin to illiterate farmers. Few could have predicted this lanky boy, who walked miles to borrow books, would become America's greatest president. With less than a year of formal schooling, Lincoln's hunger for knowledge was insatiable. By 21, standing nearly 6'4", he worked as a rail splitter, captivating crowds with his storytelling and oratory. Driven by ambition, Lincoln taught himself law, passing the bar and rising as Illinois' most respected attorney, known for his unshakable honesty. But justice demanded more. He entered politics, winning 4 terms in Illinois' state legislature, fiercely opposing slavery. In 1860, as the Republican candidate, Lincoln won the presidency, vowing to end the barbaric practice. His election sparked fury in the South, with states seceding, igniting the Civil War. Lincoln's resolve held the Union together, and in 1865, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery forever. Yet his reforms made enemies. On April 14, 1865, at Ford's Theater, a bullet fired by John Wilkes Booth, a celebrated actor and Confederate sympathizer, pierced Lincoln's skull during Our American Cousin. Booth, fueled by rage over emancipation, fled, only to be killed days later. Lincoln's death, just days after a haunting dream of lying in a coffin, shocked the nation, cementing his legacy as a martyr for freedom. Some whisper of a curse, the 20-year curse, claiming presidents elected in years ending in 0 die in office. William Harrison, 1840, pneumonia. Lincoln, 1860, assassinated. Garfield, 1880, assassinated. McKinley, 1900, assassinated. Harding, 1920, poisoned. Roosevelt, 1940, stroke, and Kennedy, 1960, assassinated. At our channel, we've debunked such eerie patterns before, but the coincidence is chilling. Is it fate or mere chance? Now to November 22, 1963, Dallas, Texas. President John F. Kennedy, the youngest elected U.S. president at 43, radiated hope during the Cold War's shadow. A Catholic trailblazer and Pulitzer Prize winner, Kennedy championed civil rights and global diplomacy. On a fundraising tour, he rode through Dallas in an open-top car, waving to 200,000 cheering spectators. At 12:30 p.m., as his motorcade passed Dealey Plaza, shots rang out. A bullet tore through his throat, another his head. Chaos erupted. Kennedy was rushed to Parkland Hospital but was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. A rifle and shells found on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository pointed to Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine sharpshooter. Oswald was arrested but gunned down 2 days later by Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner, live on television. The Warren Commission concluded Oswald acted alone, but doubts persist. Witnesses claimed shots came from a grassy knoll, fueling theories of a second shooter. Most bizarrely, Kennedy's brain, preserved for autopsy, vanished by 1966. Why? Some speculate it held evidence of a frontal shot, contradicting the official report. At our channel, we've explored similar conspiracies like the missing CIA files on Oswald's Soviet ties, but hard proof remains elusive. Was it a lone gunman or a deeper plot? Finally, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand on June 28, 1914 in Sarajevo, considered by historians the spark of World War I. Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, aimed to reform his empire, but faced resistance from Serbian nationalists. 6 assassins from the Black Hand, armed with bombs and pistols, ambushed his motorcade. A botched bomb attempt wounded 22, yet Ferdinand pressed on. A wrong turn brought his car face-to-face with Gavrilo Princip, a 19-year-old radical who fired 2 shots, killing Ferdinand and his wife Sophie. The attack unleashed a domino effect. Austria's ultimatum to Serbia, backed by Germany, was rejected, triggering war. By 1918, over 9 million soldiers and civilians lay dead, empires collapsed, and the world was redrawn. These assassinations, Caesar, Lincoln, Kennedy, Ferdinand, aren't just deaths. They're seismic shifts that toppled empires, freed millions, and ignited global wars. Their stories, steeped in betrayal, courage, and mystery, remind us how fragile history's path can be. Join us as we uncover the truths behind humanity's most pivotal moments.